Imagine standing in the middle of this like incredibly dense black and white forest.
Mm-hmm.
You have no map. The trees all look exactly identical to each other. And the mathematical gravity of your past decisions is physically pulling you backward, deeper into the dark.
Yeah, it's a profound feeling of, well, of complete disorientation.
Exactly.
The horizon just completely vanishes.
And regaining that horizon is our mission for this deep dive today. Welcome in, everybody. We are pulling our insights today from a highly tactical strategy document put together by PSG Wealth.
Right.
It's titled Escaping the Debt Trap: Strategies for Financial Freedom. And the source material actually uses that exact visual I just mentioned.
The photograph.
Yeah, there's this striking photograph of a woman lost in those monochromatic woods, and she's staring at a target with a bright blue bullseye.
It really sets the tone.
It does. And today, we are taking a shortcut to being deeply informed on the actual mechanics of this trap. I mean, we aren't going to give you some basic lecture on the definition of a credit card, right?
No.
If you are listening to this, you likely already understand the basics of personal finance. What we are doing today is dissecting the behavioral economics of how debt actually bypasses our logic.
Yes.
We're looking at the mathematical structures we can use to fortify our finances, and of course, the precise step-by-step tactics to engineer an escape if you are already caught in those woods.
I gotta say, the mechanics are really the most fascinating part of this document.
Oh, for sure.
Because we so often treat debt as, like, a moral failing or a lack of willpower.
Right, like you're just not trying hard enough.
Exactly, when in reality, it is largely a structural math problem that's just intensely compounded by human psychology.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I want to start with the preventative side first. Building the fortress so you never wander into the forest in the first place.
Makes sense.
The PSG document emphasizes establishing a baseline. So, building an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, auditing your budget, and automating your savings.
The classics.
Right. We all know we're supposed to do these things. But the document frames the emergency fund not just as like a savings goal, but as a psychological firewall. Let's look at the behavioral data here. Why does having liquid cash actually alter your financial trajectory?
Well, what's fascinating here is that it fundamentally changes your neurological response to a crisis.
Okay, how so?
Think about it. When you lack a liquid cash reserve, your brain basically operates in a chronic state of scarcity.
Wow, yeah.
So every unexpected variable, a transmission failing, a medical bill, it triggers an acute stress response.
Because you don't have the buffer.
Right. You aren't just paying for a car repair anymore. You are effectively buying your own survival.
Oh, wow, that's heavy.
It is. And when human beings are in survival mode, we make terrible long-term financial decisions.
Oh, we really do.
We accept exorbitant interest rates. We completely ignore the fine print.
Right.
So the cash reserve acts as a shock absorber. It absorbs the kinetic energy of an emergency so your rational brain can actually stay engaged.
I hear that. But I want to push back on the document's advice regarding living within your means and avoiding what it calls lifestyle inflation.
Okay, let's get into it.
Because the theory is that as your income grows, your spending shouldn't. But in an inflationary economy where the baseline cost of groceries and, housing has just skyrocketed,
Oh, totally.
living within your means almost feels like gaslighting sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, how does someone actively resist lifestyle inflation when the baseline cost of sheer survival is eating all their margin?
Oh, that's tough.
It honestly feels like telling someone on a treadmill to just stop running while the machine itself automatically speeds up.
I love that analogy. And that is a very valid critique of traditional financial advice.
Right.
The macroeconomic environment has undoubtedly made baseline survival much more expensive. But the PSG Wealth document approaches this by separating macroeconomic inflation from behavioral lifestyle inflation.
Okay, meaning what exactly?
They are two entirely different forces. The strategy to combat the behavioral side, the lifestyle inflation, isn't about just summoning the sheer willpower to skip buying a coffee.
Right, because that doesn't work.
Exactly. Willpower is a finite resource. You will deplete it eventually.
So what's the alternative?
The mechanism they suggest is defensive automation.
Meaning you remove the decision-making process entirely.
Precisely. You structure your account so that the moment your paycheck lands, a specific percentage is instantly diverted into an entirely separate savings account.
Out of sight, out of mind.
You effectively hide the capital from yourself before the expanding cost of living. Or, your own desire for a slightly nicer apartment can consume it.
Right, right.
You are artificially constraining your liquid cash flow to force your daily behavior to adapt to a lower number.
I mean, That psychological firewall works beautifully when we are dealing with our own cash, but I feel like it completely shatters the second we introduce modern credit into the ecosystem.
Wow.
Because the very tools built to smooth out our cash flow are engineered to bypass those biological frictions entirely.
Yeah, handing over a $100 bill literally activates the pain centers in your brain.
Wait, really? The physical pain centers?
Yes, neuroimaging shows it registers as physical pain. But swiping a piece of plastic or tapping your phone does not.
That is wild.
The friction has been systematically removed from the transaction.
Well, the source material draws a very hard line here. It argues we should limit credit card usage to essential purchases only and pay off the balance in full every single month to avoid the trap. But I have to challenge that strictness. Am I really supposed to use a debit card for, like, a hotel deposit?
Right.
What about the massive ecosystem of rewards points, cashback, and buyer protection?
It's a huge industry.
There's a massive convenience factor here. Where do we actually draw the boundary between leveraging a financial tool and stepping right onto a trapdoor?
Well, the boundary is defined entirely by the underlying cash flow. The points and the convenience, they're lucrative, sure, but they are only harmless if the capital for that purchase is already sitting in your checking account, ready to deploy before the billing cycle ends.
I see.
If that cash isn't actually there, you aren't leveraging a tool, you are taking out an unsecured loan.
And the structural design of that loan is where the trap snaps shut.
Exactly. And this is where the source emphasizes understanding the true nature of interest rates.
Right.
Because financial literacy isn't just looking at a statement and knowing you have an 18% APR. True literacy is understanding the mathematical gravity that rate exerts on your future labor.
Mathematical gravity. I really love that framing. It physically pulls your future money backward.
It really does.
Let's dig into how that gravity actually functions on a daily basis, because I think a lot of people assume 18% means they pay 18% on their purchase at the end of the year.
Right. And that is the grand illusion.
Yeah.
Credit card interest typically compounds daily.
Daily.
Yes. The issuer takes that 18% annual rate, divides it by 365 to get a daily periodic rate, and then applies that rate to your balance every single day.
Wow.
So tomorrow, you are literally paying interest on the interest that accrued today.
That's terrifying.
It creates a gravitational pull that consumes a progressively larger percentage of your future paychecks just to tread water.
Right.
You aren't merely buying a convenience in the present. You are committing your future self to work hours, potentially days or weeks, just to pay for the privilege of having consumed something months ago.
Okay, so let's assume the gravity caught you. The preventative measures failed, the daily compounding took over, and you wake up to realize you are deep in the black and white woods. You can't even see the sky. Moving logically from prevention to active rescue, how do you actually map your way out?
Well,
according to the PSG Wealth document, before you can start walking toward the blue bullseye, you have to force yourself to look at the ground beneath your feet.
right. Assessment is the mandatory first step.
Yeah.
It forces you to shine a light on the monster. The document requires listing every single liability, the total balance, the interest rate, the minimum payment, and the specific terms.
You have to aggregate the data.
You can't fight what you can't see.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Once that map is drawn, the source offers two distinct strategies for executing the escape:
Yes.
the snowball method and the avalanche method. And this is where the intersection of mathematics and human psychology becomes like an absolute battlefield.
It really does.
Let's look at the avalanche method first.
Yeah.
This dictates that you put all your extra capital toward the debt with the highest interest rate while just paying the minimums on everything else. Mathematically, this is the optimal path, right?
Unquestionably. The avalanche method neutralizes the strongest mathematical gravity first.
Makes sense.
By attacking the 24% credit card before the 6% car loan, you objectively save the maximum amount of money and shorten the total timeline to reach a zero balance.
But here is the friction. You might be listening to this right now thinking, I've tried the avalanche method. After 3 months of throwing every spare dollar I had at a massive high-interest student loan, the overall balance barely moved.
Oh, I hear that all the time.
I felt completely defeated, so I gave up. If that is your experience, you didn't fail the math. The math failed your psychology.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that is the exact vulnerability of the avalanche method, because humans are not spreadsheets. If you are tackling a massive balance, you might make aggressive payments for a whole year before you feel any tangible sense of progress.
It's exhausting.
It is, and that creates a very high probability of burnout.
Which is why the source document presents the snowball method as a viable alternative, even though mathematically it is technically inferior.
Right.
With the snowball method, you ignore the interest rates entirely. You organize your debts by size, and you attack the smallest balance first. It's kind of like a video game to me.
A video game?
Yeah.
How so?
Yeah, so the snowball method gives you these early, easy wins. It's like you get an emotional level-up boost.
Oh, I see.
Whereas the avalanche method is like playing purely by the mathematical rules to save the most health points of your money. Which one is actually better for the listener?
Well, the snowball method leverages behavioral economics beautifully. When you eliminate that first small debt, even if it's just, a 0% medical bill, you experience a surge of dopamine.
A level up.
Exactly. You cross a line item completely off your map, and that provides the psychological momentum required to just keep going.
It's engineering small victories to build endurance.
Precisely. You are basically paying a slight premium in interest over the long run to purchase the stamina needed to actually finish the marathon.
Right.
So you have to honestly assess your own brain. Are you motivated by cold, calculated efficiency, or do you need visible, incremental progress to keep moving your feet?
I think that self-awareness is the deciding factor in which map you choose. But regardless of whether you choose the snowball or the avalanche, the document details strategies to actively alter the mathematical terrain to accelerate your progress.
Yes, you don't just accept the rules of the debt as they were handed to you.
Exactly. Let's talk about altering that terrain. The document lists negotiating with creditors, debt consolidation, and aggressively cutting expenses. I want to dive deep into consolidation because this is heavily marketed out there and incredibly misunderstood.
Oh, absolutely.
People think consolidation like getting a personal loan to pay off 4 credit cards or doing a balance transfer is the solution itself. To me, debt consolidation is a lot like refinancing a crumbling dam.
I like that.
You aren't actually removing any of the water behind the dam. The principal debt remains exactly the same. All you were doing is lowering the water pressure, the interest rate, so you can safely step in and patch the concrete. Or, going back to the video game thing, it's like gathering a bunch of scattered, stressful mini-bosses into one single, manageable boss fight.
That is an excellent way to conceptualize it. The danger, though, is that many people consolidate. They look at their 4 newly zeroed out credit card balances, and they feel this false sense of victory.
Oh, no.
Yeah. They mistake the lowering of the water pressure for the removal of the water entirely.
And then they start swiping the old cards again.
Which is the ultimate trapdoor.
Doesn't shifting debt around with balance transfers run the risk of just playing a shell game without actually reducing the principal?
Yes, and that's why the PSG Wealth document places a very specific caveat on consolidation.
What's the caveat?
It is only a valid strategy if it dramatically lowers your interest rate, and, this is crucial, if you completely lock down the old accounts.
Okay.
Because if you consolidate high-interest credit cards into a lower-interest personal loan, your minimum monthly payment will likely drop. But the critical mechanism for escaping the trap is that you do not pocket that difference.
Right, you have to redirect the freed cash flow.
You absolutely must. The resources liberated from the interest column have to be immediately weaponized against the principal column.
I love that word, weaponized.
You have to. You maintain the exact same financial pain tolerance, meaning you keep paying the higher total amount you were used to paying, but now a massive percentage of that payment is doing lethal damage to the actual root of the debt rather than just, servicing the interest.
The same mechanism applies to the document's advice on cutting unnecessary expenses. It talks about prioritizing spending, reducing utility bills, canceling unused subscriptions, and shopping for better insurance. But let's look at the mechanics of subscriptions for a moment.
Oh, they are sneaky.
So sneaky. Subscription models are intentionally designed using what developers call dark patterns in user interfaces.
Right.
They make it completely frictionless to sign up, but mathematically and psychologically exhausting to cancel. They essentially weaponize human complacency.
They do. They rely on the fact that a $9 monthly charge doesn't trigger your psychological firewall. It just bleeds your cash flow through 1,000 tiny cuts.
So when you sit down and aggressively sever those subscriptions, you are reclaiming your baseline cash flow. But just like consolidation, if you cancel a $20 streaming service and then just use that $20 to buy takeout,
You've done nothing.
right, you've done nothing to alter the terrain. That liberated capital has to be thrown directly at the snowball or the avalanche.
It requires an intense, almost uncomfortable level of focus,
It really does.
which leads us to the final phase the document outlines. Because even with optimized interest rates, a severed subscription list, and a perfect avalanche plan, the timeline to become completely debt-free spans years.
Yeah, it's not a weekend project.
It is a grueling process.
You inevitably hit an endurance wall.
You do. And the PSG document is very pragmatic about recognizing the limits of a do-it-yourself approach here. It actually advocates for seeking professional help when the math just becomes overwhelming.
It specifically points to credit counseling and personalized debt management programs.
Right.
These are agencies that step in, analyze your cash flow, negotiate directly with your creditors for lower rates, and consolidate your payments into one monthly disbursement.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean? Because there's a massive stigma around this. Listeners might be sitting there right now thinking, if I use a debt management program, I've failed as an adult. I couldn't handle my own mess.
It's so common to feel that way.
But if the ultimate goal is the blue bullseye of financial freedom, why do we let pride keep us in the woods?
This raises an important question because it stems from the false narrative that personal finance is purely a measure of personal virtue.
Right, like your character is tied to your credit score.
Exactly. But let's apply corporate logic to this for a second.
Okay.
Would $1 million business facing a severe cash flow crisis hesitate for one single second to bring in a restructuring consultant?
Of course not. Never.
No. They would view it as a fiduciary responsibility.
They would see it as leveraging external expertise to save the enterprise.
Exactly. You have to treat your personal balance sheet with that exact same strategic objectivity.
That's a great perspective.
The source frames professional help not as like a white flag of surrender, but as an advanced tactical tool. Credit counselors understand the terrain of this forest. They have access to back-channel negotiation rates with credit card issuers that the average consumer simply cannot access on their own. They are professional guides.
And sometimes you just need a guide to hand you the map and tell you to keep walking.
Because the emotional fatigue is incredibly real.
Oh, yeah.
The document's final push focuses heavily on the psychological endurance required to finish the journey. It emphasizes the absolute need to celebrate small, incremental milestones.
You have to.
You have to track your progress systematically because it is the accumulation of hundreds of tiny, seemingly insignificant decisions that eventually dismantles a massive debt structure.
It's a complete interlocking ecosystem of strategies. When we synthesize everything the PSG Wealth document lays out, the path out of the forest is undeniably clear, even if the walk itself is long. It requires establishing that cash firewall to protect your psychology from scarcity.
Right.
It requires understanding how daily compounding gravity literally steals your future labor.
Exactly.
And it demands that you actively alter the terrain, whether you are using the momentum of the snowball method, refinancing the dam with consolidation, or bringing in a corporate consultant for your personal life.
The structural design of modern debt is incredibly powerful, no doubt. But the mathematical mechanics of the escape are stronger if they are applied without exception.
Which brings us back to that striking image from the source material. The woman standing in the monochromatic woods, staring down the target with the bright blue bullseye.
Yes.
The document tells us to keep our focus entirely on that ultimate goal of financial freedom. But I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder as you look at your own map today.
Let's hear it.
We spend so much energy, stress, and oxygen talking about the grueling fight against debt. But once you actually hit that target, once the mathematical gravity is finally neutralized and the arrows of debt are gone, what does that freedom actually feel like in your body?
Wow.
How will your daily risk assessment, your career choices, and your deep internal peace of mind fundamentally transform on that very first morning you wake up, pour a cup of coffee, and realize that every single dollar you earn today belongs entirely to you?